Please put your hands together and get as loud as you possibly can on this Sunday afternoon for Dr. David Wang. One quick second, everybody. In the meantime, you can talk and then I will fix.
All right. Why don't we do that? Thank you very much.
Do you want me to walk with you while you talk?
Sure.
All right.
Wait, hold on. I think it's on the other. Yeah, I think you got the right idea.
I just want to continue talking there.
Sure.
I will fix this for you.
That's okay.
Are you good with the handheld?
No, that's good.
Maybe if you put it in your pocket.
Oh, all right. Why don't we do
Let's
that?
look it on.
Great. Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. So, off to a great start. I'm Dr. David Wang. I'm here to talk about human energy crisis. It's actually a topic that earlier on this year I was motivated to talk about because I noticed so many people are tired, as some of you are. And notice that a lot of people are also reaching for various vices like your coffee and sugars and even energy drinks, right? How many here do coffee, sugars, and energy drinks, right? Probably most of you, right? Those are vices we're used to, thanks to Starbucks and the new culture that we're in, doing our social media and using our smartphones all day long. We tend to be very, very busy. We lead very hectic lives. And we need that energy to be able to carry through our long days, to be able to get things done. At the end of the day, have enough energy left to maybe walk the dog, spend some time with your kids, etc. And we just find ourselves too pooped. So here I am talking about this very topic that so many of you are having issues with, and myself included. I've gone through my 25 years of practice, gone through my schooling, and have burnt my adrenals out. How many here people know about adrenal health, right? I burnt out my adrenals 3 times, I kid you not. So I know all about crashing, how to crash your adrenals. So I'm not here to show you how, I'm here to tell you how to prevent it. So without going too far, just a little bit about myself. As I said, I practiced 25 years, mostly dealing with chronic diseases. So with most of my career, I've been working with cancer patients, cardiovascular disease patients who have had cardiovascular risk of one kind or another, brain conditions like dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, and people with diabetes and so on. So for the most part, I'm looking at, I've got these issues, but how do we prevent this? So always in my career, I'm always asking what are the original causes so I can fix that, and then hopefully all the other problems will be prevented. And that's really been my quest all my life. Having grown up reading about Sherlock Holmes and watching CSI, that's been actually my influence. And so coming back full circle, what I'm going to talk about today is probably no different than what you've been sampling throughout the show here, and that is food as medicine. So we're going to be talking about whole foods for sure. So topic-wise, we're going to go into 5 subheadings in terms of 21st century lifestyle and the chronic fatigue that comes from there. Non-sustainable energy sources, so we'll definitely dive deep into why caffeine and sugar isn't so good for you, especially for the young kids. The mechanism, so really understanding why it is that we're so tired and what can we do in terms of supplements and lifestyle to overcome those issues. So diving into this, 21st century lifestyle. This is the 24/7 thing that we're all leading these days. Multitasking, busy, social media, learning new apps, learning new things. Just go, 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 right? How many people are here really, really just too busy, right? All of us, right? And I think what's happening is that as human beings, our bodies and our mind capacity isn't really built to be engaged 12, 14, 16 hours, 20 hours a day. And we're pushing those boundaries. And what we're finding is that some of these vices that we're doing, if we do them too much, we're going to get into side effects. So maybe we shouldn't be doing that. Maybe there ought to be a time of the day where just simply unplug and just be ourselves and relax and allow our bodies to recharge. Chronic fatigue is, in fact, the #1 symptom that we see as practitioners. So every time you go to your doctor, 80% of the time, you're going to be complaining about, I'm tired. Besides the number of the complaints you might be talking about, fatigue is the most common symptom. And yet, when you see your doctor, they can't treat it. There's no pill for this illness. Doctor might say, yeah, maybe there's something else going on. And in fact, in 80% of cases, according to the study, looking at over 760 studies, showing that we present with chronic fatigue, 80% of the cases, these doctors are giving you antidepressants. They think you're depressed because, again, there's no pill for fatigue, there's no pill for adrenal crashes, you might have low mood. Oh yeah, let's try this thing. Well, guess what? That's probably not a good solution because, in fact, in the US, antidepressants are used for about 250 million people every year. And in most cases, it's not addressing the issues. And in fact, so much of this is being used for the wrong reasons, and it's being flushed down the toilet in rivers and streams, making its way into our oceans. And our sockeye salmon fry are picking up traces of the Prozac, causing them to be antisocial, aggressive, and even homicidal. So we're not treating the problem, using antidepressants to treat chronic fatigue that doesn't work, and it's become an environmental toxin. That's a huge problem, right? Moving further, what are some of the things that we do by ourselves? So going back to what we were saying earlier on about how things just aren't improving. I'm going back on the slides. Okay? So we're all walking around looking for solutions. What I mean by vertically ill are the people that are saying, look, my doctor isn't helping me. I'm walking to the health food store. I'm going to various places like this looking for some of these solutions. These are what I call the vertically ill. They're not quite thick enough to be cut their way horizontally into the ER department, but you're looking for solutions. You're dragging yourself, looking like, oh, I'm tired, but what's going on, right? So a lot of people are by themselves, self-medicating. They're going to coffee shops. So coffee consumption, 34% of the people, 2/3 of Canadians drink more than a cup a day, 3.2 cups per day is the average. How many people here drink 3 cups or more a day of coffee, right? So, and typically around this time of the day, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you hit that wall, right? That energy wall that most people get. So when working in the office, trying to get your assignments done at school, etc., you go through your day, you might be eating well, you might have some energy, but 3 o'clock usually hits you. That's because energetically, your adrenals are tired around that time. And so this is where people get more into their coffee. But while it might have some short-term gains, it has some side effects when you take too much coffee. More than 400 milligrams a day is considered dangerous for most adults. So that's the equivalent of 4 cups of coffee, depending on the size of your coffee, 10 cans of Coke, or 2 energy drinks per day. And as you can see, there's many cardiovascular risks, as well as if you can't sleep, well, you shouldn't be doing this. It causes restlessness, stomach upset, just to name a few things. Sugar consumption is another vice we get ourselves into. So we think we're low in calories, so we'll go and get some donuts, get some muffins, we'll have our sugar cereals in the morning, and we think that that's energy, but those are empty calories, as you know, and yet we continue to indulge in this. And as you can tell from some of the things you've read in the past, or might have heard talks like this, it causes a sugar spike and a sugar crash, and it causes these cardiovascular problems as well as diabetes, right? So not a good thing long term. Energy drink consumption seems to be catching on. It's a new thing for the last 10 years. Lots of advertising, lots of kids are getting into it. Certainly well sponsored by many of our favorite athletes out there. And, but unfortunately for the younger population, this is a dangerous habit to get into. So for all the parents and grandparents out there, I want you to be looking out for this because kids are overindulging in this. If you look at some of the stats, 30% of these kids are falling asleep and 76% have been using caffeine the day before. Increased substance abuse, so more risk-taking, more drinking, more alcohol, and about 1,500 cases reported ODing on energy drinks. Of that, about half of them are kids under the age of 6 years old. So we're talking really nasty habits that young kids are getting into. So parents, look out for this problem. The good of energy drinks, yes, it does give you a stimulating effect because when you use caffeine, you're getting adrenaline, your cortisol to come out from your adrenal glands to pump out to give you that short-term energy. But long-term, if you're really into competition and you want to be racing, you should be abstaining from any caffeine and stimulants for at least 7 days before, so when you really do need it and you're using caffeine, it gives you the extra boost in your performance. The bad of energy drinks is that a lot of young kids are getting into it, and especially kids with hyperactivity and autism, it worsens their symptoms of hyperactivity, inattention, and as I said before, people tend to get into other habits as well, and they're involved into drinking under the influence and so on. The ugly, and this is why I came up with this topic earlier on this year, is that young kids are actually dying from this. 16-year-old South Carolina, May of this year, triple dose of caffeine, and within 2 hours his heart gave out. Died in the middle of class. And this is one of several cases, as you can see. People are dying left and right because in this arena where energy drinks is completely unregulated, kids are drinking, not knowing their limitations, and people are simply dying. You can buy energy drinks anywhere. Okay? According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, kids should not consume more than 100 milligrams of caffeine per day. An average energy drink contains 160 milligrams of caffeine per drink. As I said, it's not regulated. Senators are pushing for regulation in this area. So public announcement, health safety announcement. As parents, you should be looking out for these problems with your kids. Now, what are the long-term sustainable solutions? We have great majority of us with fatigue, weight gain, low mood, unable to focus, brain fog, hitting that energy wall in the afternoon. That probably covers all of us here, right? So what do? What's a sustainable, natural way? What is, in fact, the actual cause? Well, let's look into this. Mitochondria is that power plant inside of your cells that takes your food, i.e. the sugar that's delivered by your blood to your cells, and takes that sugar, burns it, and produces the ATP. So all your food needs to be converted into usable ATP, and that's the energy that all of your cells uses, right? And if you don't have enough of the right nutrients, and I'm talking about a group of vitamins called B vitamins, you really can't break that down, convert that into usable energy. Your adrenal provides hormonal energy. We're warm-blooded mammals, and we need to maintain that core temperature of 37 degrees Celsius. So for all the protein, carbohydrates, and fats that we take in on a regular basis, we need to be able to convert that into usable energy to maintain that metabolism, to maintain that core temperature. Otherwise, we go into hypothermia, go into shock, and many of these things that are not good for us, and circulation, all these things, right? The 100,000 miles of circulation you have is really meant to deliver that oxygen and your energy to all of your cells for your cells to function throughout the day. And so adrenals produces the adrenaline cortisol during times of acute stress for adrenaline, and for long-term stress, cortisol is released. So we go into this fight or flight response, it's mitochondria rich, and the adrenal glands requires B vitamins as well as lots of vitamin C, especially during times of chronic stress. So why is it that we have this epidemic? And I'll put to you, it's not a caffeine or a sugar deficiency, it's B vitamin deficiencies. All right, your B vitamins are commonly found in your meats, eggs, dairy products, and grains. Guess what? Most of these B vitamins are heat sensitive. So when you cook the grains, your meats, dairy products are pasteurized, you're destroying these heat sensitive B vitamins. And B vitamins are water soluble, do not store in the body, except for B12 that is stored in the liver. So when you're going through chronic stress, if you use up your stored B vitamins, or you're certainly not getting enough from your diet, you become deficient very, very quickly. You can't sustain your energy to get through your times of stress. Right? This is why we have a problem. Does this make sense? We have down this downward spiral. So we use more caffeine when we're tired, trying to get through that timeline, trying to push out another hour so you can get that assignment done, or got problems at home, staying up a little later with your kids, whatever. And you're reaching for more caffeine and sugar. Caffeine further stimulates your adrenals, pumping out what little left you've got of your cortisol reserve. And with sugar, it has this up and down effect. So indirectly, has a negative impact because when it spikes up, it's not good, right? You get that short-term energy, but as you know, you have the sugar crash. When it crashes, low blood sugar is actually a trigger for more cortisol release. So the opposite is, in fact, what you're trying to do to conserve energy by conserving your cortisol. So any of these things that you're doing, sorry, I'm trigger happy today. Can you tell? Trying to go back. Okay. So any of these things that you're doing is going to further deplete your adrenal reserves. Okay. What I found in the 25 years of practice that I've been in, the first 17 years of my practice, bumbling along, doing what all the other practitioners were doing, and discover a curious group of people that were not responding to these supplements I was giving them, particularly B vitamins and the C, and I found that many of them were having side effects like nausea, headaches, and vomiting. And I myself was nauseated, and I started to dig deep, and I found that in fact, vitamins are made synthetically with various chemicals like petroleum byproducts and coal tar derivatives, formaldehyde, ammonia, cyanide, acetone, and minerals by and large are made with rock parts. Now, I remember back in my zoology days from U of T that only chickens and birds have gizzards. And unless you've got gizzards like chickens and birds, you can't break down bits of sand and rock and stone in your supplements, right? So you really can't take these supplements if your life depended on it. So this is why in the first 17 years, I've never been able to reverse a single case of osteoporosis. And studies are now showing that if you're taking too much calcium, in fact, the recommended dose of 1,000 to 1,400 milligrams of calcium a day, you're increasing your cardiovascular risk, i.e. heart attack risk, by 300 to 400%. That was a study going back to 2010, 2011, right? So, and we're seeing that there's many side effects of taking synthetic supplements, from increasing mortality to cancers. And here's the latest study that just came out a few months ago showing that B vitamins could increase your lung cancer risk in men 50 to 76 years old by 30 to 100%, right? Synthetic supplements, not the way to go. 10 years ago, I literally threw away $30,000 of products once I discovered this from my own dispensary and went looking for natural. And the reality was, I had to quit my full-time practice in order to manufacture a line of supplements that's made with 100% food, because no one else is doing it. We are the only company in all of North America making supplements from 100% whole food, organic ingredients. No one else is doing this. And guess what? To our surprise, we're helping a lot of people. People are no longer getting the nausea, the headaches, and the vomiting, and people are in fact getting better. Why? Because we're really addressing the causative problem of metabolic changes. The human energy crisis is due to what? The B vitamin deficiencies that most of us have, okay? So we have a line of supplements that we use, the A to Z. In fact, the entire line is made specifically to overcome these major problems of metabolism. The A to Z is a multi, sorry, trigger happy again. I've got too many buttons here to push. And so here it is, the A to Z is a multi, has 25 of the essential vitamins and minerals. Plus, it gives you the 2.5 servings of fruits and vegetables you should be taking every day. So that's at least half of what your daily requirements are in terms of having your fruits and vegetables. The B and C, as we've talked about, really great for adrenal function. I take the trio, the A to Z, B and C, in my daily smoothie every morning. These are all powder form, by the way. 30-day supply. Put it in, along with my fruits and vegetables. Take that in, and I have the energy of a young person. Truly, without this, I probably wouldn't be standing here. I probably would be going to my 4th adrenal burnout because of all the things that I have to do as a CEO of my company and seeing some patients on the side and on and on. So there's a lot that I do in my life. Now, in terms of other things, iron is also an important element for people with iron deficiency anemia. And as aerobic metabolizers, right? Aerobic meaning we need oxygen. We need that iron to capture the oxygen in our hemoglobin to deliver it to our cells so we can metabolize our food with presence of oxygen. No different than you're burning a fire. To me, I love using analogies with my patients. Metabolism means it's like having that furnace in your body. You need to keep stoking the fire. What do you need to keep the fire going? Oxygen and fuel, right? And the right fuel to be eating on a regular basis, complex carbohydrates and protein. Thank you. So moving on. Recipes, and lifestyle. Lifestyle is a really important part in terms of managing your stress and maintaining your energy level. So many people, as I alluded to earlier, are just doing too much. We need to manage our stress a bit better. And understanding that we have this circadian rhythm that goes up and down according to how our cortisol goes up and down during the natural cycle of the day. So ideally what you want to do is plot out your day to match this in order to have your cortisol reserved the next day so you can keep going doing what you love to do. If you're going to do your work, you want to match this chart and do all of your mental, physical activity during the day, and at the end of the day, you want to take some time out just before you go to bed, at least 1 hour of meditation, yoga, stretching, take the dog out for a walk, or just slowing things down, right? Your fight and flight should be during the day here, and at the end of the day, it's a parasympathetic relaxation time, right? Turn off, unplug from all your electronics, right? Shut off the computer, your TVs, and so on, and just go for a nice walk or, do your yoga, meditation, take a nice bath, go for a massage. Those are the things that are going to give you that sustainable energy. Here's what you shouldn't be doing. This is an extreme case of a patient who I saw years ago. 20 years of insomnia. She was suicidal when she came to see me. 35-year-old legal secretary, works all day, okay? Her chart, this is her circadian or cortisol level. Her red line is her actual chart. She'll fall between the gray lines. As you can see, it's normal during the day, but at nighttime, actually increases. And what you want to realize is that this lady, in fact, has more energy and more cortisol release during the night than she has during the day. Well, here she is, insomnia for 20 years, no more than an hour of sleep per night. She was desperate. And what we found out was that she works during the day, and at nighttime she'd go to the gym 5 to 8 o'clock. She was a gym rat, including Saturdays and Sundays for 20 years. And then she goes home, 9 o'clock, eats her meal, goes to bed at 12 or 1 because she has to sit up and digest the food. Well, how do you feel, Terry, after you had your long day? She goes, well, I'm going to bed, lying in bed, wide awake at 1 o'clock in the morning, staring up at the ceiling, my heart's palpitating. Why? Because her cortisol is up, along with adrenaline from the exercise between 5 and 8. You really shouldn't be doing your exercise at nighttime. And so simply, to make a long story short, we asked her to change her exercise schedule to the daytime, and within 3 weeks, she was sleeping 7 hours a night. All we did was to change her cycle. She was on this 20-year jet lag. Couldn't sleep. Make sense? This is a progression of metabolic loss. So you start with low adrenal function, 80% of cases, right? Probably 80% of you are here because you're tired and you want to get more out of life. And eventually what happens, thyroid gets involved and it becomes low thyroid, and eventually you have hormonal imbalances. Now, I don't know whether we have time to go into this, but I'm the last speaker here today, right? So I'll come back to this after the talk. For those of you who want to stick around, I'll explain this to you. This is a bit more complicated. Take it a little longer. So stress management, to complete this section here. Mindful breathing, exercise, of course, exercising during the day, not at nighttime. Breathing is really important. So many of us who are stressed, what do? We hold our breath, right? Here we are, aerobic metabolizers. Without oxygen for 3 minutes, our brains die. The last thing you want when you're stressed is to hold your breath. Breathe. Breathe deeply. Breathe rhythmically. Laughter is always great medicine. Community support. Get your team together. Many of us have family support, friends, and that's great. But what happens when you have physical and mental challenges? Go see your counselor. Go see your chiropractor. Get a massage in, right? Aches and pains creeps up with us, especially for those of us who are aging and stressed, right? Meditation is probably one of my favorite modalities. We can take that time to learn this technique. It was really difficult for me because I'm mentally very, very busy. But once you learn the technique and you can meditate, boy, to try and free your mind of worries, of anxiety, of busyness, really is a great way to slowing down your physiology for the body to get that restorative time at the end of the day, okay? Smoothie recipes, lots on our website. This time of the year, I strongly encourage you not to use coconut milk, but maybe almond milk, hemp milk as a base, because coconut milk is really, really cold. You want to really think about that yin and yang balance. So in the wintertime, you want more yang foods. So what I normally do is add things like, I don't have it in here, but turmeric, ginger, and cinnamon, which are warming herbs. Because all of your vegetables and these supplements are all very cold. So you want that balance in there. That way you don't get chilled, okay? And in summer, of course, you can go back to those things that you are cooling foods for you. Here are some examples of how people benefit from us. And Elisa here, Went to our booth, had a sample of our bee yesterday, felt energized, right? Right? Just even sometimes one little dose, and it's not even a full daily dose. So here's a lady who took our products and got pregnant after 45 days. This is an extreme case. Chris is a chartered accountant for 40 years. After 40 years, she came to see me and she says, Dr. Wang, I don't know what's going on, but every year I go through this burnout. I'm reaching for my B and C vitamins and all these things. Go to the health food store and try, and I feel, well, what do you mean, Chris? She literally throws up, and I explained to her why that is the case, because these supplements are made with toxic ingredients. Takes our product for 1 week. First of all, no more side effects. And secondly, after a week, she has a lot more energy, no more burnout symptoms. This is a person who had a thyroid issue, obviously with adrenal problems. Had her manage her stress a bit better, took the supplements. Her enlarged thyroid mass actually came down because it didn't have to compensate for the metabolic loss. Why? Because the adrenals have recovered, right? So this is one of those things where, again, fixing the cause is the most important thing. Overcoming anemia, patient had anemia, didn't want to do blood transfusions, took our iron product. Within 6 weeks, she had overcome her anemia, didn't need blood transfusions anymore, because our iron is made from food, not from rock parts, okay? Iron from curry leaves has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for 3,000 years without side effects, without the constipation and stomach upset that classically come with iron supplements made from iron ore. Okay, this is an extreme case, Lyme disease case. Some of you how many here have heard of Lyme disease? Yeah, very common here in Canada, and yet it's not registered. It's a political thing happening. I don't know what's going on, but I know of 2 medical doctors who lost their licenses in BC for treating people with Lyme disease. Controversial, right? Anyways, lady showed up, 5-year, again, suicidal. I don't know why I track suicidal patients, but I do. Shows up, 5 years of suffering, extreme fatigue, extreme pain, looked through her stacks of tests. Nobody diagnosed the adrenal crash. Put her on the A to Z, B, and C trio twice a day within 5 days. This is what she said verbatim. I don't mean to swear, but this is what she said. Okay, thanks for your improvement. This is the way, holy ASHIT. She got her life back in 5 days. I kid you not. Okay, so there you go. And lastly, here you can go to our booth 913, sample our products, talk to our knowledgeable staff, try our products. You can download a free Mastering Your Metabolism book from our website. Be sure to take a picture, go home and download it, learn more about metabolism for yourselves. And then what we'll do is we'll take questions and we'll go back to talking about hormones for those of you who want to learn more about hormones, okay? Thank you.
All right, so questions on a first come, first serve basis. Immediately with the hand, I love it.
Hi, and thanks for your presentation. It was really great.
Thank you.
I work night shift, 5:30 to 12:30, Monday to Friday. Have a lot of trouble sleeping. I'm actually a transit driver, high stress, and I also have no thyroid from cancer many years ago. So I don't sleep very well at night, or I have trouble sleeping. So I'm wondering if you could give me some tips to perhaps help me sleep better.
So my question, hang on to the microphone. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You know, for something like this, I'd rather just see you afterwards. I have more time for you.
Okay.
But just generally for the people that are listening in, there's lots of things from using artificial light during the day.
I do
You know,
already.
our whole cortisol cycle matches the planetary cycle. The sun comes out, you should be up. Sun goes down, you should be going to bed, generally speaking. We have these dark seasons during the winter where it's dark all day long. But aside from that, generally that's how our body's physiology operates. So use light, use supplements like this to take during the day when you should be up, and things like melatonin, making sure that you have tryptophan and things at night to make sure that it helps you to go to sleep. Sometimes you might need herbs and things to use in order to get you to that sleep pattern. But night shift in general, not recommended. 5 cancer patients that I'm working with, they're working night shift. Generally, I'll write a letter to the employer and say, look, this patient has cancer. For the immune system to work, for me to help this patient, he needs to be working during the day. Otherwise, he or she may need to find another job. That's how serious I take this. Studies have shown when people are locked up in a cave with sensory deprivation, without orientation, without sun hitting the pineal gland, setting up the hormonal pattern in the body, They're overeating, they're undereating, they're overweight, underweight. They have all kinds of psychological issues because you don't have that connection to the planet and the light and the cycles of the body. Gets thrown off. Okay. Other questions? But be sure to come and talk to me.
Any other questions? Shoot
Thank
your
you.
hand up for me. Trying to see everyone. Doing a quick scan. Oh, right here. Perfect.
Hi. In terms of the vitamins that you're suggesting that your company has made, I've had issues with absorption, problems in the past to do with like gut health and gut flora. So would you suggest for people who've had digestive issues that they're still able to absorb the nutrients in your products, or is that something that would have to be treated first before kind of looking to take those supplements?
Great question. There's probably a lot of people here who have digestive issues at a gluten-free show. It starts with, leaky gut, permeability problems, absorption problems, and then you find yourself that you go on a gluten-free diet, you feel better. Why is that? Well, because we have been taking in a lot of chemicals. There's 85,000 chemicals that are allowed to be used by the EPA. We have chemicals in our cupboards, we have chemicals in our foods, 4,000 chemicals used in food processing. And then to add to that, we've taken medication, things like antibiotics and anti-inflammatories and all these OTC drugs that we've taken in. All these things have an impact and cause the erosion of our gut membrane, which over time causes a leaky gut and all these proteins leak across, setting up the antigen-antibody reactions that cause these allergies, okay? Our products are hypoallergenic. That means they're gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free, soy-free, yeast-free, etc. Why? Because as a practitioner, I see these people with all these various allergies. And leaky gut is a very, very common problem, myself included with my history of IBS. So, but having said that, the severity of the leaky gut and digestive problems and absorption issue varies from person to person. Our products are 100% organic, plant-based foods. Most people can tolerate it, but you have to try them to see to what degree you can and cannot absorb them. But that's another thing where you and I can talk further about that to give you some strategies. Great question.
I think we have time for another question. Absolutely.
Further to the question on absorption, 95% of the category today is the vitamins are in capsule form.
Right.
Do you find, or have you had contact with retailers that are open to the pure powder?
Ours is 100% powder.
Right.
So it's a great thing you're bringing that up because capsules require lubricants and they do flow agents like magsteria and silicon dioxide in order for it manufacturer to flow it into the capsule. Tablets are binders and fillers which interfere with the absorption because they're meant to bind things together, to glue it together. So it doesn't really dissipate and break down in your intestine. There's numbers of studies and anecdotal things where you hear of nurses calling these things that pop into their bedpan bullets because these things are coming out from the rear ends of patients as whole supplements. Even technicians, ultrasound technicians, seeing still the emblem of the vitamin still intact in the large intestine making its way out into the toilet. So we hear these stories all the time, and this is why we leave it in the powder format because over the years I've had so many patients say, Dr. Wang, I take the capsule, I empty it, and that's how I use it, right? So powder is absolutely cleanest form, and to me, I want to solve a problem and not add to it. So that's why they're in powder format. Thank you. Any other questions? So let's talk about hormones, shall we? Do we have time?
Absolutely. Let's bring it on back.
Okay.
We sure do.
Thank you. So how many people here have hormonal issues? Thyroid, perimenopausal, PMS symptoms, and for the men, andropause, right? That's probably, a lot of you. So there you go. So this is a bit more complex. I'll try my best to keep it simple for you. So all of your hormones come from cholesterol as your food source. So as bad as cholesterol has had in terms of being a bad name as far as cardiovascular risk goes, cholesterol is actually essential. It's the oxidized form of cholesterol that is bad for you, right? Oxidation is the enemy, and yet on the flip side, you need oxygen, as I said, but oxygen without antioxidants in your diet is a bad thing. So oxidized form of cholesterol is what causes the plaquing, damage to the inner lining of your blood vessels, that gives you that cardiovascular risk. So cholesterol is an essential nutrient. And I've had more than one woman in the dietitian program from UBC come to me with amenorrhea or having no periods. Why? Because they have a cholesterol-free diet. They're trying to keep thin and trim at the age of 19 and 20, and they have no periods because they don't have a source of cholesterol to make their hormones. So how are they going to have their period, right? So cholesterol is important. But to make a long story short, pregnenolone is your first precursor of all of your hormones. For the males, the testosterone. For the females, estrogen and progesterone, okay? So the pregnenolone goes down these pathways to making these various hormones in order to give you that hormonal balance. Any one of these that become deficient can cause an imbalance, okay? Now, for the females in attendance today who have those female problems, you're commonly told that your perimenopausal symptoms and your PMS is caused by an estrogen dominance, that you have too much estrogen and not enough progesterone. Is that right? How many people disagree? How many people agree? Yeah, right? Your doctors, endocrinologists, your naturopathic doctor, anyone doing the anti-aging medicine or bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, they're told that you have too much estrogen. Well, it's not because you're producing too much estrogen at that time of the month or that time of the phase of your life, but because of progesterone. But guess what? Progesterone becomes deficient because it converts to cortisol. And if you've heard anything that I've said today, it's because of the chronic stress that we all have and the depletion of cortisol that robs the female bodies of progesterone. That's what causes the imbalance. And that's what causes these issues. I was an anti-aging doctor doing bioidentical hormones for 12 years, ran all these expensive tests that people will pay hundreds of dollars every month, changing this, changing that. I was doing the same thing as everyone else. And I thought, this isn't working. My patients are frustrated. I'm frustrated. I go and talk to one of the doctors at the lab that I'm doing the test with. What's going on? And in that conversation, he said, by the way, for people that are low in pregnenolone, when we give them pregnenolone, cortisol shoots up. Well, the body in its natural way, biochemically, will go to areas to increase levels where it's deficient. Right? Is my micro, can you still hear me? Okay. So does that make sense? Okay. So that was the clue. And then the other clue was I looked back to what the Chinese practitioners have been doing for 3,000 years. So what do they say for most people? You have low qi and they're palpating your kidney yin and yang. So you've got low kidney yin and yang energy. What does it mean? Low kidney yin and yang means low adrenal function. For 3,000 years, they're saying the same thing. People have chronic stress, they have low adrenal function. Well, this is low adrenal function. So in the last 5 years, I've stopped using those expensive tests and hormones, put people on our stress management technique, supporting adrenals using our nutrients. Cortisol comes up, stops robbing from progesterone stores. Progesterone levels come up, balances against the excess estrogen. Symptoms go away in 80% of female patients within 6 months to 12 months. Right? That's how it works. For the men, so this is what happens. When you're stressed in initial stages, you have progesterone deficiency. But over time, it's going to rob you of pregnenolone as well. When you're robbed of this main precursor, in females, they could have a loss of estrogen. So in some people, you can have low progesterone as well as low estrogen. And in men, over time, they could get andropause from loss of testosterone, right? So again, you can do the stress management, supporting the adrenals, but for some people, the 20% of the people that have those hormone imbalances still may need to see a naturopathic doctors or anti-aging medical doctors, run some of those bioidentical tests, and do those bioidentical hormones. Does that make sense? Okay, any questions about that?
I feel like that was a lot of information, so we'll open it up to a couple more.
Would your trio that you're talking about help somebody with Hashimoto's?
With Hashimoto's? Hashimoto's is a thyroid autoimmune condition. And so one of the markers that you should be doing when you're doing your thyroid panel, besides the TSH, is T3, T4, and antithyroid peroxidase, or ATPO, okay? Most doctors won't do that, but your naturopathic doctor should be able to run that. If those numbers are higher than 38, it means that you've got an autoimmune disease related to your thyroid. And that's probably how your Hashimoto's was diagnosed, okay? And to the degree that it's above 38, right? It's like 300, 500, 1,000. That means it's a severe case of Hashimoto's. Was it 300? 3,000. Oh, that's pretty extreme, okay? So when 3,000 means you've got a major autoimmune disease related to your thyroid, which comes back to what? All autoimmune diseases comes from your gut, leaky gut. So goes back to what we were talking about earlier, leaky gut for a lot of people due to exposure to all these chemicals, pesticides, chemicals in our cleaning agents, in our foods, off-gassing from carpets, formaldehydes in woods, the furniture with flame retardants and so on and so forth. So we're exposed to all of that, and that's why our gut's taken a beating over the years. Autoimmune disease is the next epidemic. Half the people don't even know they have it. The other half that have it have a hard time dealing with it. And medical doctors just aren't suited to really diagnose it well because there's not a lot of antibodies for it. But with Hashimoto's, you've got to heal the gut. Come and talk to me afterwards. That's also a long conversation. Great question. But with Hashimoto's and any autoimmune disease to do with the thyroid, in fact, with any thyroid condition, you always want to treat the adrenals first because that's the original cause. But with Hashimoto's, you've got to deal with the gut because that's the cause. So don't use thyroid medication for your thyroid when you have Hashimoto's because that's not the cause.
All right, unfortunately, we're out of time for questions, but I think, Doctor, are you going to be hanging out beside the stage?
I'm going to be at the booth, 913, so we'll see you then. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful afternoon.